I'm Nick Marra, and this is After the Turns. Welcome. Sorry, that was a little sloppy. That's all I was thinking of, how sloppy that intro was. For 10 seconds there, I got distracted. Welcome to another episode of After the Turns. I think we're in our 20s now. If we're not, yeah. So it actually kind of a little bit of a reunion for Matt and I. This was our first episode. Was after Richmond in the spring. So so exciting times. It's been over almost 6 months now. I can't believe that. But I've obviously got Matt here. Marra, that is. We've got Agnel Philip as our guest today. This is going to be fun. I could already tell just in like the 6 minutes that I showed up before this podcast. So
I'm a fun guy. I don't talk a lot, but I'm a fun guy.
Well, I feel like you do. We're gonna get to learn a lot more about Agnel today. But how are you? It was a bit of a rough. Well, I guess we'll get into it in a moment. But how's the last 24 hours been for you? And you're still kicking yourself a little bit.
I mean, I'm a competitive guy, and when things like yesterday happened, as we'll get into, and it's completely within your control. Yeah, it stings, and it stung for a long time. So it still stings. So I know we're gonna reopen that wound right in a little bit here.
Yeah, we are. But I guess I don't think any of us had really good days. But you had good speed, Agnel. But Matt, you had the worst day of all. So that means you get to go first this week. So let's talk a little bit about that one for you.
Oh, Matt, apparently your mic is muted.
No, I think they're lying.
Oh, never mind.
No, you're
better
good.
to find out now than 45 minutes into the show.
Oh,
there we go. No, I did mute myself. Wow, they're not lying. There we go. Okay, I'm here. There we go.
Gotta trust the audience.
Yeah.
Wow. You know what?
Good guys in this league.
Didn't lie. Yeah, if the audience didn't lie, 10 times an episode, we would have unmiked a little bit earlier. So I guess I was saying, Agnel, I understand the pain, having to get over something, a poor finish or a mistake, because I make the mistakes every week. As far as my race, I was not looking forward to Richmond, home of my pit road incident. I think we did our first episode, as Nick was saying, after that, and had to show that, which was pretty brutal. And I think we revisited that last week. So I wasn't looking forward to it. I had a couple of days off work last week. I did not practice because I hate Richmond. And the race result is why I'm glad I didn't. So barely made the session. Usually I was relying on the 30 minutes of practice, and my son wouldn't go to sleep. And so I thought I was going to miss the race, and I got in the session at like 7:57 and jumped in. Had a pretty awful qualifying run. It was like, I'm just going to run in the back. Everybody thinks this is going to be a shit show, and fingers crossed that there are some accidents, and that's my chance to an okay finish tonight. I told Nick as we came to the green, usually I have a pump-up speech. I told him, you know what, I hope if there's any race that I wreck out early, I hope it's this one, and I hope it's early. And Nick, did I not say that? Did I not say that on the radio?
Yeah, the real shame of it was you didn't get the opportunity to not run into the pit barrels. You never even got close to that opportunity. So
I did have a pit road entry, and I made it. I made the pit road entry. So what had happened was I think it had to be like lap 4 or 5. I just minded my own business in the back. I knew there were some guys behind me who didn't qualify and just started in the back, probably also assuming it was going to be a shit show, and was just riding around. And I think Sean, shared in the Discord the replay. I don't care to look at it again. But Eric Stanford had, I think, lost it off 2 and almost wrecked some guys. Everybody did a really nice job of checking up and making sure nothing happened. And then off 4, he did the same thing. And, ran into me and took out my car. I had about 3 minutes of damage. I was a 35th place car. Tom Morano would probably finally remember our last race at Richmond where we ran in the back. I think probably 2 seconds behind the entire field at Richmond, having a nice battle for last. And with 3 minutes of damage on top of that, I was not ready to repeat that. So I pulled it in pit road. And I was just like, I guess this is it today. I'm not going to stay out here. And looking at the way the race went, I'm glad that I didn't continue to race. Disappointed it happened because I don't play iRacing as much as I'd like to. And so to have the day ended after 4 laps is disappointing. But if it was going to happen at any track, I'm glad it was at Richmond. So
you definitely didn't. So you definitely talked longer just now than your race actually was.
Yeah. I think we could have probably started from the beginning of the race, and you see me in pit road right now getting towed. Yeah.
Well, I guess Agnel, I should be going next, but unfortunately, you're going next. Considering how many times you passed me, it doesn't even seem possible that you could be going next instead of me. But let's talk about it. How did you get speed? That was a positive.
Yeah. It's really frustrating because I had, clearly a decent amount of pace. I don't think any of us were quite on Drew's level in terms of the pace, but I was able to on that first run really keep the tires under the car, and I got passed a couple of times by Eberhard, got back around him, was pulling it in a little bit, and then obviously pit stops happened, and my goal was I didn't want to pit the same lap that Drew pitted because that's when you're 3.5 seconds behind somebody that's not going to get you anywhere. I didn't want to short pit him because I knew that was not going to work long run, so I was kind of committed to trying to pit a lap or two after him, and he stretched it probably almost all the way out, except he kept a little bit of a buffer on fuel, which would have been a good thing for me to do as well. But anyway, so I come in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and come in to the pit stop, get into the pit, okay, kind of just going down pit road, mind my own business. And Richmond's one of the tracks that has that curved pit road.
Oh, no.
And
why don't we just watch it? I think you're describing it. I'll get the replay up in the background.
Yeah.
So we can
let's watch my. So yeah, I'm just kind of chilling here. Just trying to get ready, get psyched up for the second half of this race. There comes Danson out in front of me, and
oh no!
Oh, there's the no! Oh dear!
What pit stop were you? What pit stop?
I was the third stall because I qualified third.
You barely missed it. You.
No,
so.
As far as missing it goes, that's about as bad as you could. It's about as bad as you could miss it. Because basically, what happened was that the pit was curved. It's curved there, right? And Danson's coming out, and it's not obviously Danson's fault. It's my fault for not knowing where my stall was. But his car kind of covered up where my pit board would have been in my sight, because I went back and looked at it on the replay, and we didn't have a fix. I'd done one NIS. And I didn't start third in it, so I didn't know where the pit. I didn't have a really good familiarity with where the pit stall was, so I just blew right by it. And then I don't know if it would have been a penalty to stop and reverse and get into the stall.
That was going to be my next question. So I do know. So back at Talladega, and I don't think I have the video. I did the same thing. So I came across Nick, spun myself out, and I backed up on pit road, probably like 2 pit stalls. I didn't get black flagged. I was waiting for it. So if you're in this position again, now you know. I was going to ask.
The thing is, yeah. So there's a couple issues with that. Is that number one, I don't know if you had the camera on you when that was happening. Like, I'm pretty sure Evan was like, clearly they were looking at me this whole time.
Was that what was happening? Were they watching? Were they?
This is live, yeah.
And the whole live, yeah. I mean, I was in the lead when I pitted, so like that was part of it. And Matt and I were talking before the show. My parents like watch the races, and I do take a lot of pride in kind of running in the series and trying to do well. And I had a stupid mistake at Darlington at the start of the race that we can talk about as well. Yeah. But like when I make dumb kind of errors like this, it's very, very frustrating. And I knew, like, I was like, there is no way that they are not following every single beat of me limping around out of gas trying to get back. Like it's about as embarrassing as it gets. I had a similarly embarrassing calamity of errors at Bristol last year, but they didn't follow it all the way around like they did in this.
This is your first time seeing this too, right? So
yeah. I'm glad I can't hear anything because I don't even want to know what everybody
complete heartbreak. Like you can hear it from Nolan and Evan. They're just like, oh no, he's running so well. This sucks. Like this, and you can. And I was watching live, so I was out of the race, and I actually watched the race, and I was obviously wanting you to do well because I knew you were going to be on the show today. It would have been really awesome. Obviously, you'd agree if you were coming in on here with a W and or at least a good finish. And I was like, oh, it's always when those bad finishes happen, you're like, you gonna still want to join us tomorrow? I don't know. So you got past that, and you were so close here, and you're just like, man, I wish, like, I want to get up back on the Discord when Nick tell Nick, you have to get in pit road. You gotta push Agnel. He's like 10 feet from his stall. That is so at some point here, I guess, do you think there could have been a way that you could have coasted to your stall here? Did you press the brake at any point around that lap?
I think I re-engaged the clutch trying to give it a little bit more gas, but by then it was completely empty. And yeah, they're like Sam is saying, I probably should, which I think that's Sam in the chat. I should have taken them. There are a lot of things I should have done, but like at that point, like that your race, at least the race that I was having, is gone. And like I'll be honest, I was not in my best mental state.
So like
after that point where I'm already like, really pissed that it happened, and like it's one of those things where it's so embarrassing and calamitous to your race, especially when you've been racing so well, that like you just like you don't even know what to do after that point.
I think they zoom out here, and they show you have to park it. Like you realize you're not going to get there, and I think you actually see your car get towed to your pit stall, which is maybe like 10 feet forward here.
Oh my god.
Yep. Oh, did you see that? That it was so close. Yeah. I don't know that it would have made much of a difference, right? Because you're probably like 2 or 3 laps down at that point. No. I think the next guy was like 3 laps in front of you. So at the end of the day, I don't think it makes a difference. I mean,
if it had turned into a wreck fest, like if we had that caution and people kept wrecking after that, which tends to happen at Richmond in official races, I might have squeezed another 2-3 spots, which we'll get to the standings, would have been a nice kind of buffer potentially to have. So that's like the other sucky thing with it too, right? Is like you can't stop at that point when you're in the playoffs like that, because Kyle Trudell was multiple laps down as well, and if I had stopped, I would have lost that spot. And you just don't know. You don't know how the rest of the race is going to go. All it takes is one caution to bunch everybody back up, and there are plenty of people. As much as I love our real sim racing colleagues or co-competitors, there's plenty of people who are willing to kind of stick their noses where they don't belong on a late race restart. So,
I mean, Manazzi Major did just that with Sam Nieto. I don't have the accident queued up, but I'm sure most saw that.
I was too far behind when that happening. I didn't see it. It seemed like Manazzi was struggling a little bit, and he's poor guy. He felt really bad about it. Clearly,
yeah, he did.
I mean, that's what you asked for, though, right? Isn't it? I think it's what we've been talking about on the show. People make mistakes. Just like hold yourself accountable and like apologize, right? I think that's all that anybody like. I don't. Sam's in the chat here. He seemed cool in the Discord. You know what? I bet you if Manazzi doesn't say anything after the race, I bet you Sam is feeling a lot differently about Manazzi right now. So, people make mistakes. He overdrove the corner really, really bad. But all of us have done that at some point on accident. So,
And I mean, I spun a guy on a straightaway last week, so I don't have too much room to criticize anybody for making a dumb mistake. You
will be criticized at a point by Steve Durham, I'm sure, for our "Whose Fault Is It Anyway" segment. There's only one accident again this week. Somehow we're going to take all 3 weeks of the round one of the playoffs, and we're going to have just one large episode. It doesn't make sense to do episode for one wreck this week. So you'll get your crap for that. I'm sure next week.
Speaking of people who don't really have a lot of room to give crap to anybody, but that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the point of it. So
that's the whole point of it. Yes, absolutely.
How many laps down were you? You passed me like 3 times after you came out.
I was 5, which actually I was surprised it wasn't more, but I was 5 laps down after all of that. And then when the caution happened, I took the wave around. I ended up 4 laps down at the finish.
Okay. Well, yeah, that was hard. That was hard to watch. So, you had a lot of speed. I'm curious to see the points. I didn't realize. Did the broadcast have like points, like live points? Is that what I saw there?
Yeah, they had that on the right side. It was really, really neat. We're gonna need it for, I'm sure, our intense Truck Series Championship battle on Marra Racing Network right here. Continues tomorrow night. Everybody should definitely join. But we'll need that graphic. I don't know how they do it. I'm super curious. Hugo's the man. He makes all the stuff happen. But that was super neat to follow it. And unfortunately, in that graphic, you can see Agnel's name fall down pretty quickly. So get that back on next week. Yeah.
Well, Agnel, you were definitely the best out of the 3 of us. But I guess I'll go last. My night, I really thought we were going to crash like quite a bit. So I guess, Agnel, since you're good, question for you: what steering ratio did you use? Or do you use at Richmond?
12 to 1. I use 12 to 1 pretty much everywhere.
Okay. Well, never mind. I think in the spring I used 16 to 1, and it worked. Well, I used 14 to 1, and so I thought we would crash quite a bit. I qualified 17th. I had a couple of bets on the line, and I could have got a top 20 that would have been paid off earlier. So I was really excited. I was like, this is great. And I ran up to like 15th or 16th for like the first 30 to 40 laps. I was having like a lot of fun. And then I don't know if it's just the tray table or what, but the car just became like, you had to turn the car so much, or maybe I just burned the tires off of it. But at the same time, I just felt like I was turning like so unorthodoxly a lot. And it took a lot to get used to, because in the NIS races, Agnel, you sound like you did one. It was a complete train wreck. Both of the races, they literally couldn't make it 2 laps without crashing. So I kind of felt it. And then, once 30 to 40 laps got kicked in, I went straight to the back. I don't know. I wish I did the 16 to 1, because that actually really worked in the spring race for me, which I'm sure, doesn't work for anybody else. But is that what people are saying? I don't even know.
Yeah, so 16 to 1 is, honestly, when it comes to steering ratio, a lot of people will say that's personal preference, and Agnel, you know more than I do. But I would say like a 14 to 1 or 16 to 1 is more so at the 1.5 miles or greater, and then maybe 12 to 1 at the short tracks. That would be my understanding based. But Agnel, please educate us if I'm incorrect there.
I think with steering, I am in more of the camp that believes it's personal preference. I know there's some people that swear that 16 to 1 makes you save tires better. I do think that that's true if you are basing the way you're driving around how much wheel you're putting into the car. If you are basing your driving based on what the feedback you're getting from the tire sounds and the force feedback, doesn't really matter. For me, 12 to 1 is just what, it's kind of the default.
But you do mess with brake bias. So I know Nick and I do. Brake bias.
Yeah, there's a camp like clearly like Sam that likes to set their brake bias really far back. I don't. I tend to set it farther back than like the default is. But I find, what I'm trying to do, and we'll talk about it kind of as we talk about, how I've kind of tried to get better and to get better at sim racing. For me, I'm paying attention to things that are not necessarily settings or setup driven. Like the way that I'm trying to do, the way I'm trying to drive is entirely dependent on what the car is like doing. So for me, I can drive at 68 brake bias if I needed to and be reasonably, and I could drive I got used to saving a car at 16-1 or at 8-1, I could probably drive it pretty similarly at any of them, because it's all like you have to get to a point where you're kind of doing your inputs and everything based on what the car is doing, and not necessarily based on some sort of formulaic, like I turn the wheel this much, I get off the gas here. You know, there has to be a little bit more dynamic. So that's my little spiel, but we can get further into it.
Well, well, that's actually really good. So I've never touched a brake bias, so I couldn't tell you what that would, you know, as much as I love the cars of stock, I couldn't tell you at all what that does. So so if somebody could just DM me that information just like on a weekly basis, that would just be fantastic. But so it was a bit of a struggle. I will say, I don't know. I feel like yesterday, I think it was like a really good day for me, not because I finished 28th, but it was one of those days where I was lapped by everybody multiple times. So I got out of the way. I think I learned a lot of respect. I think we talked about if we had a radioactive this week, it would have just been everybody saying thanks, like, thanks, Nick, keying up the mic. That was like literally the only thing on the radio, was just that all race. So you're welcome, everybody, multiple times. I didn't hit anybody. Didn't hit the wall for 200 laps, didn't hit anybody, so just ran like shit. So that was just pretty much it. So I was hoping there would be some cautions that I wasn't in, because if we were going to do 30 to 40 lap runs, I could have finished pretty okay. That's what, and I told you, Matt, I told you before, yeah. It's going to be long green flag runs. This is going to be a disaster. And the other thing I wish I had done, some people did 3-stop strategies. If I knew it was going to go green, I would have split it up into 3s, because there would have been a lot less time where I was, you know, way slower than everybody else. So I wish I could have had that back. But yeah, like you said, Agnel, like, I mean, it really, like, the NIS races were a shit show. So no way in hell did I think that we were going to be able to do what we did last night. So that was the one track where I struggle on long runs. So of course this was the race where there was one for the whole race. So if this was a mile and a half, I feel like I would have done really well. That's where I do well on the long runs. Been praying for one all year. We never got one. So, but yeah, it was, I guess it was fun. I'm really sore today, and it was a great workout for the arms. So that was pretty much the best that I could say.
If I said that, you would be giving me some kind of crap about how I'm out of shape. So
I was yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Good. That was the workout that I wanted. So yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that makes some good points here. So anyway, yeah, that was it. You know, I guess I don't know how much happened in the actual race, but
Andrew dominated. There was some movement late. I think Daniel and Seth DeMerchant got into each other for third or second, which honestly I thought maybe. I mean, Danson's pretty well into the playoffs, but I was wondering if Seth was going to give Danson the spot for the point too. But yeah, I think why don't we look at the standings, because we've referenced them a few times. Obviously, they're extremely close right now, especially with Everhart coming back. It's a very close race. Everybody's very close. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can have a bad race and end up missing at this point, right? Even
on the bubble.
What's that?
How was Rhett on the bubble? I thought he's run. Well, I didn't see Darlington, but
he had issues last week, which is why. Yeah, if I look at Rhett's finish, where did he finish? Yeah, he finished. No, this is definitely not. Oh, there it is. 25th last week at Darlington. So he had some issues. Rhett was Richmond. Yes, Rhett was fast. He was fast both the last 2 weeks. And I think Rhett had caused an accident early at Darlington, and then he had some connection issues. So it wasn't even necessarily him. But he had some issues last week that put him, I think he was 9 or 10 points out coming in. So he gained some points here.
Well, it's interesting. Agnel, how do you feel about that? 1 point. 1 point going into
it's not ideal. It's not where you want to be headed into Bristol, but it is what it is. Like we'll do the best that I can. Hopefully, it turns out to be a little bit more like the Richmond style of race, and I don't have to we don't have to do a bunch of restarts or anything. I did good at Bristol last year in this race. If I performed the way I did last year at Bristol, I think I would have made it, or maybe I finished. I don't remember exactly what I finished, but I should have. I would have finished pretty well if I hadn't made one really stupid mistake that we can talk about later. But I'm pretty decent at Bristol. I obviously have a lot of practice at Bristol because of Road to Pro in the truck, and then I'll have to kind of get acclimated to the Cup car between Thursday and Monday, which shouldn't be that difficult. But I feel fine about it. If it goes the way that it should, if it goes like a normal race, if it goes like Richmond, we should be fine. If I wasn't an idiot and got into my pit stall okay, I'd be sitting up there probably in between Bowie and Danson right now, or maybe even second. Because I don't know. We'll have to see. It's Bristol. Anything can happen. Late race restarts, people on different tire strategies. You just never know.
Is that? I've only won one race at Bristol. It was Xfinity, like an official kind of race. It was scary as hell, but I somehow led some laps, but it just seemed like a lot. Is there a way that we can go green? Is that even possible, like at all?
Yeah. I mean, last year we did. We went
green flag pit stops last year.
They were green. In fact, I was almost in the perfect position last year because I was the only one that didn't do a green flag pit stop. I just stayed out, and at Bristol, when you do a green flag pit stop, you end up going at least 2 laps down. So I had literally everybody. I think I had everybody a lap down. A couple of people came on the lead, or almost everybody 2 laps down. A couple of people 1 lap down. They all took the wave around plus like 1 lucky dog or something. So that was like in the perfect. It's one of the most annoying things before yesterday that I had done in a real sim racing or in any race. Was how I screwed that race up, but you can definitely have long green runs at Bristol. In fact, it's the track is somewhat conducive to that if you can get out of the first 5-10 laps after a caution. It's when the cautions happen, everything bunches up, especially the way that Bristol was before the most recent track updates. Everybody's going to the top, so it just creates a lot of places where people can collide. So, but once you get past that and people get strung out, you can go green for a long time.
Interesting. Is it? Do you know how they've changed it now?
They've done it the same way that they've done pretty much every other track, in which they've tried to equalize the speed between the lanes. So like at Richmond, how before we just couldn't run anywhere except the bottom, and now we can run anywhere sort of, which weirdly makes the racing both good in some ways but terrible in others because you can't pass anybody if everybody's around the same speed. It's going to be kind of like that. I think one thing, I've done a couple C Opens to prepare for Road to Pro. The one good thing compared to the way it was before is at least on restarts, you're not automatically dead on the inside line. You can kind of hold your position a little bit better because the inside used to be the weak line at Bristol. Now it's actually actually faster than the top for a lot of the run. But the top is where you want to be in traffic. It's very weird. We can have a whole discussion about that. But
that's good to know. It's good to know. Well, hopefully it's not too much of a shit show. But.
Yeah, I'm sure Bowie will cover a lot of this in his
probably
for the race.
Well, I said we were talking a little bit about the standings. I don't know if we were going to get back to it, but we should probably, what I guess do we talk about what we think is going to happen?
Why not? I do. I want to talk about one thing. You brought up a good point, Agnel, on the driving lines and the track changing in Richmond specifically. As watching the broadcast, they keyed in on Seth DeMerchant for what felt like half the broadcast because he was running the high line, and I think Daniel was running it a little bit too, which looked really odd for someone who has never ran that high before. Seth seems to find the high side, or as high as you can run at any track. Did you run up on the high side at all at Richmond, and did that surprise you a little bit?
Not a ton. I'm not super comfortable up there, and I'm not particularly fast up there. And the top, is generally at Richmond going to burn tires a little bit more than the bottom was. So I didn't run a ton up there. I think, Seth's obviously incredibly good, and so is Daniel. So they had ways of kind of running up there without burning their stuff off too bad. So yeah, I mean, I tried it a couple of times to kind of build up runs on people. I think I got, when I passed Seth on the first run, I think I did it by setting him up going high a couple turns to kind of get the run on him. I'm still not very good at passing people, so it's it doesn't, they're Daniel or Seth is much better at actually converting that into something. But yeah, I tried it a little bit. I couldn't find the speed without kind of killing my tires up there.
Yeah.
Interesting. I tried that, in a second split NIS race, there's a lot more success with that than there is versus, these guys. So that's what I noticed. It didn't work very well. It was good to maybe defend for a few laps longer, I felt like.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it almost impossible for the guy below to pass if they're not significantly faster than you. Like that's what it takes to get by people. Unless, people are feeling generous and they just let you go. And I let people go yesterday, and they let me go both lap cars and people on the lead lap. So, that's the other way to get it done. But that was the thing, like, even if I had stayed in that race, pitted, unless I'd come out ahead of Andrew, which I don't think I would have based on how the pit stops were under that caution, it's going to be really difficult to get around him, highline or not. Like, he's just so keyed into what he needs to do. And that's the thing with the racing now, is if you're behind somebody who knows what they're doing, you're probably not going to get past them.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of the way it is, unless you have to be significantly better than them to do that, especially on the short run.
That's kind of what I assumed. You guys at the front, I don't know how you guys make passes when you all know what you're doing so well. So that's kind of,
we don't on each other. We don't really make passes that often. The people who make passes are people like Drew and Daniel and Bowie, and people who are really at and Sam and Danson, the people who are really at the kind of upper echelon of doing this and really have a good sense of car control and stuff can do it. It's really difficult to do. Passing is it was difficult before, and now it's like really difficult.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I've got to assume at Bristol we're going to have the same issue. I know I tuned again for like the first time ever. I shouldn't say first time ever. I've done it a few times, but I tuned into a little bit of the Coke Series race tonight, and I know Keegan Leahy started from the pole, and he had said in the pre-race that he wasn't going to let anyone by him. It was going to be very hard to pass. He didn't think he had a good setup for the race, and
he's literally said that before every single broadcast.
He led every single lap. He led the whole race. He won 3 cautions. It did look like there was a bunch of movement in the results, and obviously the competition at that level is even more uniform throughout the field than it is here, right? So I guess on that point, and we will get back to standings and predictions, but the Coke Series being on tonight, Agnel, obviously you made it to the second round of Road to Pro. You've referenced it a couple times. What's that experience been like? Obviously, even making it to the second round of Road to Pro is pretty incredible. You make everyone in our league look good when you're one of 6 people who have advanced to the final 70 here. What's the experience been like, and how are you feeling with, I think, 2 weeks left?
It's been an awesome learning experience, a really good kind of barometer for our team. This is kind of the highest level that we've ever participated at, and I think we've had some tough races, but at other races, like especially Texas and Homestead, I thought that we really showed that we belong as a team. We do belong in that group, maybe closer to the kind of fringe of the group, but we're making good progress. It's a great learning experience. It's just crazy. I mean, this must be what the kind of Coke Series guys obviously get through the season, but like, where else on iRacing are you getting like the opportunity to race against people who are that good, right? And who are just everybody is just fighting for every single inch, and you just have to raise your game to stay up there. There's no real hanging back that works at that level, and there's just no other place unless you are at the pro level to do that. So it's been a great experience so far.
So how are you feeling? I guess I can pull up the Road to Pro standings. I have them. I don't have them with the drop week. So there is a drop week, right, out of the 7 races?
Yes,
I don't know if you're tracking that somewhere, or if there's a way to track that. I just have what's official on the iRacing standings. So it looks like you're 15 points out, which it's not a small amount. It's definitely
it's
something.
It's almost half the field right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Not great. Like if we're talking about trying to make the top 20.
I mean, isn't that the goal? I guess when you started this, what was your goal, right? Obviously, you ran Road to Pro. Top 35.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which we're pretty much there, and I mean, part of what's going to make that potentially easier is there's going to be people that don't show up to the last couple of weeks now that they're like out of it. That being said, I mean, I thought Texas, which was the most recent race, we had a really strong performance. If we'd qualified a lot better, I think, we could have hung up there in the top 10. I thought we had top 10 pace, potentially, fringe border. If we'd qualified 5th, then, we settled into like 5th or 6th on a long run, I think we would have stayed there, to be honest. Like the way that we were kind of running, which is crazy to think about. I know it's Texas, and Texas is terrible, but
Nick loves Texas.
I love Texas. Nobody else does but me. But yeah,
it's like one of my teammates says it's essentially just one corner. So like, there's only one turn in it. The other one is just basically curved straight away. So it's a little bit strange in that regard. I thought at Homestead also we were. We had a lot of pace. Obviously, not that you guys follow the Road to Pro stuff, but I made it up.
Like right here, we're following. We got the standings here.
But like at the actual races, like at Homestead, I'd gotten up to like 6th on the first on the first stint at the beginning of the first stint, and for some reason the part of my brain that thinks rationally was like turned off, and I was like really trying to make up a lot of spots, and then burned off my tires and fell through the field, but still finished 15th. Like in 15th, it's crazy. I finished 12th at Texas, and I was like, that's the hardest I've ever had to work for a 12th, and also the best I've ever felt about finishing 12th, because we started 22nd or 24th or something in that race, and there was like no passing if you'd watched the broadcast. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that. And then obviously there's weeks like Rockingham where we were a full half a second to a second a lap off the pace on the long run, that was one of the most painful experiences that I'd ever had on the sim. So, there are lots of highs and lows, but I think on the whole, just being able to be top 35, top 30, if that's where we finish, and I can get at least one top 10 or even better out of it, I'll be ecstatic. And we're going to Phoenix, and as we'll talk about later, I kind of like Phoenix, so maybe we'll do all right.
I think I'm going to try Road to Pro next year, maybe. Not that I really have the time for it, but I do like the trucks at some of these tracks. So I'm sure, and I would not be anywhere near your guys' split, so I'd be in like 5th to bottom split. So
I would say for that, we might want to try to have an alliance with one of the teams that are out there. Road to Pro is open setups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to have someone good setting up your car. You're not going to do anything with a fixed setup. Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work. Like I don't race official nearly as much as I used to. I don't really do setup stuff really. I mean, I kind of, my role on the team is to just take the setups and run them and get data so that we know if we're actually making improvements or not. But yeah, it takes a lot of time.
So what is the dynamic on the team? So A51, there's no other drivers in our league from A51, at least from what I've seen. So
I really felt that at Daytona.
So how did you join A51? What is being on a team like there? And how did you find RSR?
So, when I started iRacing back last year, I joined a league it was at the time called ESS, eSpeed Sport, or I think that's what the name was. It's changed its name now. It's called eSpeed Racing League or something like that. And that league has, the top dogs there were all A51 guys. Nathan Jurgensen, at the time, Chris Carroll, were kind of the fastest guys in that league. And I kind of really enjoyed racing with them, really enjoyed, the way that they approached racing and just kind of how fun it was to kind of hang out just in general during the races and the race chat and stuff. So I approached them about joining their team because I wasn't with the team at that point yet. I talked to a couple of people, but I was not kind of at the level where I was going to be challenging in Road to Pro. This was maybe in October of last year. So I wasn't even really, I just wanted to get on a team because it seemed like that would be a fun thing to do. I don't know. And to have,
that's why we made our own. Yeah.
Potentially some setups for the next Road to Pro season. And I thought it would be a good place to grow. So I joined the team, and we are kind of set up where we have a few guys who are really good at setups and in kind of different ways. And then a few guys who are kind of more drivers, like Nate Jurgensen and I are both like drivers. Brian Lockwood is both. He's a pro on the road side. He joined us kind of partway through this Road to Pro season, but he's a pro on road, but he's good at driving and at setups. So we have a lot of kind of different people who fill a lot of different niches there. What I've tried to do to kind of help is oval racing, setup wise, at least my interpretation of it, is that it is really long run based and kind of the margins are so small and it's kind of hard to tell when you've made progress on a set sometimes, like especially when you're just kind of tweaking things on the margins. So what I do a lot of is just run a lot of 30-40 lap runs with different sets, just trying to gather average lap times and tire data and stuff, so we can compare stuff and actually be like, okay, this not only feels better, but is actually faster on the track as well.
Interesting. So where do you find a setup guy? How do we get someone to do setups for us? Because that feels like that's a big deal.
It's funny because our setup guy didn't start. My understanding is he didn't start as a setup guy. He was brought in as a spotter for one of the people on the team, and he just kind of picked up setups and he got really good at it. And again, we're a pretty young team. We don't really have a ton of alliances or tie-ups with the other teams right now. So, we're kind of figuring everything out on our own to some extent. Yeah. So that, I don't feel bad that we're not quite at that, top tier level yet. I like that we're progressing and I like that we have that, but that's all that being said, you don't have to go out and recruit a setup guy. You can become the setup guy if you have the time, inclination, and willingness to kind of keep with it, because it's very frustrating from what I could tell to build the setup.
Yeah.
No, Nick, I will not be the setup guy. Just want to clear that. Just want to clear that up.
To do with the network to be the setup.
When you're a 2-person team, it does seem to be a little hard to divvy up work that way. You might need to expand just for that sole purpose of.
I don't know. We only allow Marras in. I guess we can look up the white pages and see who's there with the last name Marra.
Although, from my previous views of this show and podcast tell me that the Nick has been angling for a spot on Altus, so you might be on your own here
at this point. Yeah, so I should have really pushed for that harder. I don't know if that's going to be possible anymore. So we got to get him back on, mainly just so I can get on the Altus team and get the 2022 contract. So I worked very well with them at Daytona. Agnel, you were the one who ruined our Altus Esports picture at Daytona, because it was the three of them, then it was you, and then it was me who was working with them. So
Do you have any
I
idea?
probably had no idea you were working with them.
No, I've watched this. Once I saw all of them lined up, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Or at the very least, Nick is just doing whatever Danson does. I didn't know exactly. Know exactly what was going on.
They just said do whatever we do, so that's basically you're exactly right. So you got in between us. Like you knew you probably had no chance there. You should have just let me get by to get to fourth just for the team picture. And I told them to Photoshop you out and then send it back to me. But
I mean, that race was so. I mean, it was kind of interesting. You know, you didn't know quite how everything was. I didn't realize that you guys pitted. And you had very fortuitous timing with your pit stop too. I thought you got. I thought y'all were just staying out. So I was expecting you to come in way earlier than you did. And then you just stayed out. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening here. And then I stayed out an extra lap. It was a whole thing. That race was very interesting.
I was having fun. It was a blast for me. I think everybody else was everybody else in the field was really upset except for me. I was just super happy the whole time until 2 laps to go. So I enjoyed staying in a straight line with you guys. So
speaking of teams, that's where having more of my teammates, or anybody wants to reach out for a technical alliance at Dega, feel free to. Because gosh, I did not know what to do. I was like, okay, I guess I'm just stuck here. Like maybe I can make you know what I should have done when we had that run with Jeremy and I think Brian. I think it would have at least mixed things up enough where like my best shot was everybody fighting amongst themselves to do something. And instead I was like, no, I want to be the first non-Altus person so that I like drop. It was.
Well, it's funny that you say that because that probably would have been the best. I mean, I wasn't gonna do anything. I was just gonna stay with them. So even though if nobody knew, like that was what I was just gonna do. So if you guys,
it sounds like Agnel knew, so that's why I didn't make the move.
I knew that. I had Joseph behind me.
Yes,
we were building up a run. We would have had a run. I don't know that we would have done it because again, like, and I don't know how much Joseph Tice has done like stuff with the new drafting package, but there's a way that you have to kind of like do it, and that makes it very hard to just team up with people on the fly because you don't know if they're going to be good pushers or not. And it's just like, I don't know. We were going to try, but I don't know if we would have done anything, especially with everybody lined up. I wanted to push Danson to the win, or at least to the lead into turn 3 so that I could then get around him. But then I got side drafted to hell by the KR guys. And I couldn't do that. So, it is what it is.
It must have been after I spun myself.
This was after the restart. This was on the
There was no side-by-side racing or anything until the last turn. So it would have been
pretty realistic.
Yeah.
We're just running the bottom instead of running the top, Like I actually kind of like the new drafting package for what it is. It's a little exaggerated. But it can be fun when I hate when people say this, but it's true in this case. It can be fun when you're with the right people and people understand at least when they want to go. Like I don't begrudge people who just kind of like stay and wait in line. Like I'm one of those people who's not just going to race for the sake of racing. Like, no, we're racing to the end, right? Like there's an objective here, and I'm not just going to do shit in the middle of the race just because that's, what everybody feels like would be fun. But like, you do need to have a certain knowledge and skill level to when you want to actually pull out and do stuff, which you didn't on the previous package. Previous package, you're just like, okay, here's the line, get in front of them, get a push, get around. Like it was very formulaic in that way, and this is less formulaic, which is nice.
Interesting. Yeah, I think it would just, if it was a little easier to run side by side. It's kind of like a 90s feel, except it's a little more impossible than that. So there was just a little more possibility to make something happen.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like we've gotten way off the agenda that Matt has.
There's no agenda. I guess if we were going to talk about something next and Agnel's success and pulling something off, I think we have to go back to your win earlier this year, which I'm sure based on the discussion with Richmond and all that, you'd love to go back and talk about something as positive as Phoenix. So last, you had mentioned you started iRacing last year, which I think Nick pats himself on the back for that rookie championship that he got for, what was that, truck series? You got the seats?
Xfinity series.
Xfinity.
Third in the trucks, and I won the Xfinity one, yeah.
For the rookie division in iRacing. I think it was like season 3 last year.
Division 2. I'm up to Division 2 with the
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad.
So that success, I think we even posted it on the Marra Motorsports banner or on the Twitter. No banners made. So maybe we'll get a plaque for it. So we were pumped about that.
I did put that PDF on my Snap story.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. I do think we should print it out and get it framed like a diploma. But regardless, so Agnel, you started not a few months before that, and you got a 5,000 I rating. You've done a lot in RSR. I looked at your stats. You led laps in your first race. I think it was at Kentucky last year, which had to be pretty cool. And then I think everybody had felt like when you won at Phoenix that was kind of a long time coming with the speed that you were pretty competitive. So talk us through Phoenix. Talk us through. I've got the last couple laps, so I've got the Evan call. So we're going to play it. But before we get to that, talk to us about how you got there.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those races where just kind of things played into my hand, I think. You know, I didn't qualify particularly well. I think I qualified on the back half of the top 10, and Phoenix was very difficult to pass at, which became relevant for me later in a good way. But basically, we had this caution, I think, like 30 laps into the race or something like that, and I thought it was a no-brainer. I thought everybody was going to come down pit road. So I was like, you know, similar to the way I wasn't really thinking at Richmond, but in a good way this time, where I was just like, okay, I'm going down pit road now. And I think who else came down with me back then? It was, I think it was Lariah and Bowie, I think, came down with me as well. And so it was just us three who like pitted. And then after that, like you were saying how, you know, with Richmond, you did NIS, you're expecting the RSR race to be a bit of a shit show. It's hit or miss. I feel like RSR has long green runs at places that don't a lot of times, which is a testament to people in the league for sure. So I felt decent that like, okay, fine, we'll go and we'll see where we can get. And I don't know if the tires are going to make that big of a difference. And, you know, maybe I'll stall out at some point, but I made my bed now. And I got a great jump on that restart, and I just picked my way through the field. You know, I think I still have the replay saved somewhere on there, but like I was a man on a mission, kind of like weaving in and out, like cutting the dog leg extremely every single time, taking people 3 wide and everything, which is so easy to do when you have new tires and everybody else has old tires. But was able to get into the lead. Caution comes out. It's like lap 60 or something. So another 30 laps. And at this point, we're running slightly ahead of what like the pace that we would need to. Like I was essentially going to run out of tires if we kept having cautions every like 20, 25 laps. And so I was like, well, I could try to do the thing where I save a set and just stay out. But no, I'm just going to come in with everybody else. I'm going to try and keep the track position and hope that we get one long run that'll reset everything. And yeah, Danson made a couple runs at me. Drew made a couple runs at me. I could tell the way that they were making their runs at me that they weren't going to get by me. So I was like felt very good that whole race pretty much once I got into the lead. And then at the end, you know, we got a pit stop that really I think we got a caution with like 30 to go or something like that. And it reset everything. And at that point, I knew I was on the same tire cycle as everybody else and we're going to be fine as long as we could stay in the lead. And we did, although Bowie made things interesting there at the end. He should have been scored ahead of me on that final caution, but he wasn't, which is what actually gave it there.
Yes, we've got it. I was gonna show the last one.
That was an accident.
I was curious how much everyone remembered of this. So we'll show this.
Nobody remembers that. Oh, with this part, what you guys probably don't remember.
This is a one from the last restart. Brandon's challenging.
Everybody kind of went everywhere, and I don't know, the brakes didn't work, and I don't even remember. I think it was Dylan maybe that I just.
But this was close. I mean, watch for the yellow here, right? Brandon's passing you up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Hugo was whoever controls the camera was not quite had a good view of the crossover, but then didn't quite get.
There are more angles. There are more angles of there are more angles of everything.
We'll get to that here. Here's Nick, Team Agnel right here.
Oh no,
diving it in like this is like the Nazi at Richmond with Sam Nieto. Like
so really, I have to thank Nick for this win.
I was going to get to that. I was going to imply that you deserve it to thank.
That was a week where I had no. Okay, so that was a very Cody Ware type move. You hate to see it. So I don't know what happened. I did good the whole race without crashing, and then we had so many restarts.
Here's how close it was too, and I think from this angle, it did look like Brandon might be in the lead. It was very, very close. Sorry, continue, Nick.
I'm so. Where else did I not hit the? Is he talking about Daytona where I didn't hit the brakes? I did. I will say I did feel like yesterday I was having a lot of problems. Also, like. I was like, is my brake pedal like broken? Because I felt like it was taking way too much pressure to slow the car down, or like it was taking way too long. I don't know. I'd like somebody to, I don't know. Maybe I'm just not doing it right. But that situation, I don't know what I remember having to apologize. This was the race that I apologized to. I apologized to Brandon, and I said, hey, Brandon, because Matt was like, apologize to everybody. So I was like, okay. Matt sent me a text and was like, you should apologize to Brandon Bowie for ruining his race. And
he was going for his first win. Like, at least,
he already won at Homestead at that point. I was going for
he did win at Homestead. Okay. Okay, maybe I was feeling the opposite. I can't remember.
No. You were, we specifically, you were like, you need to go apologize to Brandon. So I did. And he was like, I don't even fucking know what you're talking about.
I wouldn't have even been, I would have been disappointed if Brandon, obviously, if I hadn't won that race, I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, you could tell he was in the zone. Like he had figured something out, and was just on another level. And then thank God for the single file restarts on green white checkers. Like there were so many things about the way that literally everything about that race went exactly the way that it needed to allow me to win, which I don't feel that bad about, because as we talked about, there's so many other times where two or three things have happened that have taken a chance to win out of the cards.
Well, I don't want to say you're welcome, but I feel
like I might actually send you something.
No, yeah, that'd be great. It was actually a complete accident. I did apologize to so many people. Those things. That's really what it is. It's just, I made a mistake. That was like the one, other than wrecking William Schmidt at Nashville. That was my one other not so shining moment the whole year. That was it. I got 2 out of 22 races. Nobody's really heard from me other than that, except for my rough summer streak where I wrecked some people.
I was gonna say you got up to 5 penalty points, and you were about to get to 1 now. You're doing a good job. Yeah,
I haven't touched anybody in like 4 weeks, and nobody's touched except for the Daytona restart. But that was took out 20 cars. That was an accident, but I didn't mean to do that, and that was indirect because of me. But anyway.
I like Liam's comment that you are A51's Steve Durham, helping Agnel get the win.
Is that Steve's team?
No, that's
my no. It's a joke. It's Agnel's team. It was a.
Yeah.
He did point out that he's missed the last 2 races, and Andrew has won the last 2. So, trying to debunk that.
I missed the Phoenix finale last year, so like all of these references have gone straight over my head. If people talk about this stuff as if it's like RSR lore now, and I like literally have no idea.
Did you watch the Steve Durham episode? I would say if there's any episodes to go watch that one. It's very, very long though. Yeah, we spent a very long time going through Phoenix, and then we went back through it, and then we basically took the dead horse and kept beating it. And I think we brought it up very slightly with Drew too, which I feel bad about. But yes, at the same time, it's in the past.
Yeah. So I don't think we do a best of. That was definitely the most awkward moment I think of the whole year.
Oh, with Drew?
Yeah,
that was
for sure.
But it was a well-deserved. Like it was not. It was my fault for bringing it up. It was not. Definitely not on Drew for being awkward. So, with that, we should watch the win here. I don't know how well the audio is going to come back through, but we'll try.
34 car from second, pace car down. Philip goes early, 2 laps to go from Phoenix.
Nailed it every time. I don't think there's been a restart where that 94 has made a single mistake. Now the problem is, can you pull off with 3 younger drivers behind him?
And here's the dive to the bottom. Philip stays up on track, and Bowie dives low, cuts the difference to about a car length, but it's not enough yet. Freenach watches from third. Eberhardt may want to make a fight for that spot. White flag, though. One more time around for Agnel Philip.
Just gonna walk the dog, but you know, well, someone's gonna send it down the inside. Whichever one of those 3 behind him it is, someone's gonna do it.
Bowie again, all the way to the inside. A slow, low banked, turns 3 and 4, drives it in hard. He'll come up short. Eberhardt into the fence behind, and Agnel Philip is an RSO Cup Series winner. He gets it done at Phoenix. Through the season.
I could call you. So you got your Evan call. So you got your RSR audio trophy there. Have you watched that since you won?
Oh,
and
yeah.
If, how many times?
Oh yeah, many times. I think I haven't watched that in a while, but I remember for a bit. I went back and watched it a couple times because I think that was at the kind of at different points in my development as a sim racer, I guess you could call it. Like there have been kind of plateau moments and moments where I felt like I've reached certain like things, and that came at kind of a good culmination point too. And it felt really good. Like it was an awesome feeling. Again, like I said, my parents, watch pretty much every RSR race, so it was cool to be able to, do that and then get on the phone with them and talk through all of that. It was a cool moment, and I really did enjoy it.
With your parents and any family or friends, do you typically have a crowd watch every race? And
just my parents. Sometimes my girlfriend will watch too. She's not super into it, but she watched that one weirdly enough, and she watched almost the whole thing, which she usually doesn't. I don't know why she decided to then, but yeah, I mean, it's usually a couple of people. My parents have been like every time anybody visits the house now, like they'll talk about.
Sorry, Sam asked if your girlfriend watched Richmond.
No, she did not. I did.
I'm sorry.
I had a premonition about it, I guess, and didn't even send her the link. Anyway,
that's the right answer. Now I see when you're good, you could send your girlfriend the link. But
yeah,
you don't want anybody to see it. So
maybe that's what I need to do to ensure a good performance. But no, I've definitely had some shitty ones when I've sent her the link too. But whatever. It's kind of funny. Like my parents will now show these broadcasts like to friends that come over and like family sometimes. And it's like it's kind of funny like that they've taken such an interest in it. They like legitimately do enjoy watching the races, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
That's a great production. So I know when Nick and I show even people who are not NASCAR fans would never watch this. The attitude is, wow, that's really neat. Like that's super well done, really cool, professional. How do you get into this? Like obviously a bunch of questions come up, and it does pique a lot of interest. So yeah, that's why I was curious. What the reaction is. That's really cool that your parents are super interested in it. I don't blame them, because that's how I got into the league, found RSR, is because I thought the broadcast was really cool. They do a really good job.
Yeah.
So how did you find RSR? I don't know that we got that answer earlier. So how did you find RSR? Obviously A51's not here. So
yeah, I think I was watching Malik's stream once, and he was doing an RSR race. Malik Ray, who's a Coke driver, for those who don't. I don't know why anybody watching the stream would not know who Malik Ray is. But I was watching a stream of his, and I saw this, and I was still at the point where I hadn't joined A51 yet. I was still like doing my own thing, trying to find places outside of official to race some really good people. And I was like, oh, if Malik's in this, and he's racing some of these guys, they must be pretty good. So, and So I didn't even know really about that. I knew there was a broadcast, I guess, since I, saw a little bit about it. But I was like, oh, this seems like a decent league with some names that I kind of recognize here and there. May as well give it a shot and see what happens. That's kind of how I got in. There was no wait list at the time. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's going on this year, but it was just like, signed up and I was in the next week.
I was shocked. I mean, I had told the story, it's probably several episodes ago now, that I was like ready to throw a bunch of money at Evan. Be like, if there's a wait list, I'll skip it. Here's 100. Like when I had watched the broadcast, I was like, how do I be part of this? And I suck. Like I would ask you, what made you think that you see a Malik Ray in the Coke series? You had just started iRacing. I think I saw April of 2020. So you joined RSR in July, which is only a few months after you had started iRacing. What makes you think you're ready for that? And I'm not ready for that. That's not like, obviously you were more than qualified, but that's a short period to be playing, to driving, sim racing, not playing iRacing, driving in the sim racing. Whatever you want to call it. That's a short period of time to take an escalation from, I'm going to race with Coke series drivers, Coke driver talent, to 3 months ago not driving. I think Nick did something similar, but obviously you've been a lot more successful.
Yes, that's true.
Well, so I don't know if anybody remembers, but there was another thing kind of going on in the world around March or April of 2020. We were all suddenly kind of confined to our homes, and I was living by myself in New York at the time, and I've been a NASCAR fan. When I was younger, I'd fallen away from it a little bit. I was a Dale Jr. fan, and once he retired, I really stopped watching. I was kind of tailing off towards the end of his career there anyway. But I still kind of liked playing, racing games, and I played a little bit of NR NASCAR Racing 2003 season when I was in high school, but wasn't very good at it. So I was like, oh, it's a pandemic. I have a job now. I have money. I can just spend it on sim racing stuff. So I took the plunge. I started with Forza and very quickly realized I wanted something kind of more out of it. And, I got into iRacing actually not even thinking I'd do the stock car stuff, because again, I wasn't really a NASCAR fan anymore. But I did some of the oval stuff. I was like, oh, wow. I remember why I really enjoyed doing, sim racing stuff. And I picked it up reasonably quickly. And I'm just like a competitive kind of person. And, for example, I don't actually think talent is really as much of a thing as people think that it is. I think, your ability at something is mostly a function of how much time you put into it and how efficiently you learn, are either taught or are able to process kind of the information in there, which might be talent. But, I've learned throughout my life, I've picked up different skills and gotten decently good at them. So for me, it was always going to be a question of how much time can I put in to try and get, try and get up to speed with this. So,
I mean, I think you can make that argument, not to cut you off, but I think you can make that argument. I think I looked at the results and typically the running order at Richmond, and I think you saw the playoff guys were just dominating the top 15 or so. I think Seth was maybe the only one in there that wasn't in the playoffs. And I think it's very easy to tell that guys in the playoffs are probably doing a little bit more practice than the guys who aren't, right? Obviously, they have more talent than anyone else because they made it to the playoffs. But on top of that, I think there's obviously a lot more focus on it if you're in the playoffs. And so you see guys like Liam, right? Liam, our road course ace, I'd have to look back at the stats, but Liam, I don't think has any top 10s really at ovals. And again, not trying to slander Liam here, but Darlington 12th, Richmond 6th. I would argue that's probably the best he's ran at ovals this year, right? So,
yeah, and it's, for me, it was about kind of wanting to learn how to do this well, and I think that's the other kind of aspect to it, is knowing what the goal is that you're trying to get out of it. And for me, because I was stuck by myself inside and I'm a competitive kind of person naturally, I wanted to be good at it, And for a long time, I didn't know that I actually had a ceiling in this, or that the ceiling that I could conceivably reach was where it was. But eventually, like, I just kept doing it, and I was kind of like in second split in ARCA and the C-Fix trucks and stuff when I was kind of coming up, and eventually I made it to top split, and I was like, wait, I'm not actually that far. Like, I'm clearly a full couple steps behind these guys, but like I'm not. Like, I can learn to do what they're doing, and like that has been that's been what I've been chasing kind of this whole time is trying to figure out what it is about how the guys who are really good at this do what they do, because there is a very specific way that they kind of approach stuff, and there's a level that they're at that is not necessarily a question of talent. It's like, once you figure it out, you figured it out, and like putting it into practice is another thing, obviously, but like, that's again, it's a function of time and knowing and having a very good idea of like where you want to get. And for me, being good at this is, something I decided pretty early on is what I wanted to do. So, by the time I think I was racing top split pretty consistently in everything except for like NIS, which is the true top split. But like, in official races, you're racing against in any given one, like people who are 5, 6, 7, 8K iRating guys, and they always destroyed me every single time. But like, that was, something to keep striving for to get better at. So, yeah.
Dan, RSR's got some of those guys, and you got that win at Phoenix against, I think, some people who have 7, 8K ratings, which is testament to how much you've learned. And I think we were all really happy for you. To circle back to Phoenix, very happy for you in that win. Are you surprised you haven't found victory lane since? I think that felt like it was kind of gonna like uncork the bottle for many more wins afterwards.
I guess I'm not a naturally very optimistic person, so I'd say no, I'm not super surprised by that. Again, like that, there was the circumstances that played a big role in getting me into the position, and I was good enough to take advantage of the opportunities, obviously. But I for most of the season, I've been a good step behind Drew and Daniel, especially. But and Bowie and Danson and some of these other fast guys. Like I think on raw pace, like I still have a little bit of a way to go. At the time I did, I think I've closed the gap. That's a funny thing is if you compare the sim racer I am today to what I was in March for the Phoenix race, like I'm leaps and bounds better. Like I would have not done that mistake that allowed Bowie to get to my inside. Like that probably wouldn't. I won't say that it wouldn't, because you can always choke it away. But like, I know now how to do what Bowie was doing at the end of that race, and I didn't at the time, right? Like I have a better idea of how to do that. So I am somewhat surprised that I haven't gotten a little bit close. I think Atlanta was probably my best shot at it, and I just couldn't seal the deal on it. I made a couple kind of like crucial mistakes, and that one, Darlington, we didn't even talk about that. I forgot to turn my engine on, which Nick Silver will really appreciate, on the grid, and I thought something was wrong with my computer, so I started from the pits, and that's what really started.
And you still finished 7th.
I still finished 7th because I was fast. Like at Darlington, I was fast.
How did you not? Like, what do you mean that the engine went? Like you did?
So like I don't know. I was just sitting on pit road, and I've
done it before.
There's like an ignition switch, right? And I turned it off, and I was just sitting there, and then the grid starts going, and I press the gas, and nothing happens. And before that, just for context, I saw like my internet spike, like I saw like a lag spike, and I was like, oh, is my computer, like, is something happening? Like where this is. So instead of just holding up the entire field, or instead of realizing that, hey, the engine's off and you should just click the ignition button and turn it back on, I panicked and reset. So I started the pits, and what made that entire race even more frustrating was the minute it released me from the pits, instead of just letting me go, it changed my tires. So I lost a set of tires right at the beginning of the race. So yeah, all that being said, is I was pretty freaking fast at Darlington. Like I think I might not have I wouldn't have probably beaten Drew because Drew was on pole and he was really fast, but I was there. I was top 3 speed, like I'm pretty sure.
I think you're
So
I feel like you're not giving yourself enough credit. So I've got your stats up here. I've been doing the power rankings for the last, I don't know, 12 or 13 weeks now. So I have all the stats here. 10 out of your last 12 races, you finished in the top 13. You had a second place at Kansas. Dover was 26, which Dover was just shit. Charlotte 10th.
Had to run in with another friend of the podcast, Adam de Blasio, on that one.
At Dover?
Yeah.
It's probably best we don't talk about him anymore. So Charlotte 10th, Sonoma 4th. Pocono was also wasn't there? There's a lot of attrition at Pocono too. You finished
Pocono. The power went out.
Like mid race or what?
Huh? It went out as qualifying was about to start.
Did you get a storm that day? Was there a storm that day in our area?
Yeah,
I think there was.
I remember we were worried about that.
So that's
crashed 20 laps in.
Yeah. So I guess that's a side note. We found out that Agnel lives in our area, and Agnel grew up at where I live now. So that's all stuff we found out before the show. It's pretty crazy, small world. So yes, I guess we should remember that. I got to look at our stats, Nick. I'm pretty sure we didn't do too well at Pocono.
No, I crashed.
Yeah, and then there were a couple others. Like, I appreciate you bringing all of that up. I think for me in this league, I'm not particularly ecstatic about a result unless it's top 6. Like that's to me, that's when I know I put together a good race. If I finish between 6th and 12th, then I know that I know I probably left something on the table. To be quite frank.
Well, there are a lot of people, and you look at and I got to calculate the average finishes every week. Typically, you have a few guys who have, an average finish of like 7th or 8th or better in the last 3 races, and then everybody else is generally between like 11th and 15th as an average finish. There's not a lot of consistency, and that's because
that's
been
my big struggle this year for sure.
But,
if you look at the chart, it's been like this.
Yeah, but I'm looking at your numbers here, and I didn't even get to the good parts. I mean, Road America 6th, Atlanta 2nd, New Hampshire 12th, Michigan 13th, but then Daytona 5th, Darlington 7th, and then obviously the issues here. So, I mean, that's 6 out of your last 12 races. You have finished in the top 7. I know you said top 6. So, that I think, the top 7, we'll make up our own stat. I love when stations, they make up their own stat. We'll call them top 7s, 6 top 7s. I think you've shown you have speed that will compete for a win when you're finishing that far up front that consistently.
Yeah, and I mean when you talk about places like Darlington and Richmond and the road courses, like I think actually I've developed into a decent road course racer. I haven't really had the chance to show it. I think I would have done pretty well at the Glen, but I just couldn't make that race. But you have people who are really good at those styles of racing, like Danson and Liam at the road courses, like Drew and Daniel at the short tracks, like that's, or at the hard to drive tracks, so to speak. So it's tough, right? Like I feel like those are the ones that I tend to more consistently finish closer to the front, but they're also the ones where I less often have a realistic chance of actually winning the race, if that makes sense, because there's clearly like 1 or 2 people that are like head and shoulders like above everybody else, which makes it tough, right? Like at Bristol, you have the pit aspect of it, you have the kind of surviving carnage, and it's kind of like Phoenix, where if you get good track position, you might be able to kind of like make do. But Drew's going to be fast there. Daniel's going to be fast there. Some of these other guys are going to be fast there too. So like, I might not get a win there. I don't know how the Roval's going to go. Kansas.
So you said when you got into iRacing, you were looking at oval racing, right?
No, I was looking at road more so. Actually.
I'm sorry, no, you weren't looking at oval racing, but you ended up here because you did it a little bit. I look at, and you even just now saying, oh, you're not at the level of some of these other road racers, right? But you look at the road racing finishes, I think it's 6th and 4th at the last 2 road courses. Typically, your name doesn't come up, and I know there's not a whole ton of chatter around RSR, but typically you think road course ringer, you don't think Agnel Philip.
It's a recent thing.
Talk about it. That's all people talk about. Just RSR.
Oh, yeah.
All the buzz. It's more of a recent thing.
But I was just gonna say on your Twitter account, you have in your profile that you were second split winner of the 2020 Daytona 24 hours. So obviously you have some road experience and background.
Yeah. I was not the pace guy in that one. I was the get an extra lap on each stint guy, which helped with fuel strategy and tires management and stuff. But whatever. The road thing has been more of a recent thing. Like I said, we have on our team Brian Lockwood, who's a pro on the road side, and he's incredible. Like, it's like Danson has said on this podcast before. Like, there's kind of people oval racers regard as being very good, like road course people, and then there's like the upper echelon of like road racing guys, and Brian's like in that, or at the very least on the cusp of that. And he joined our team, and he's been instrumental in helping both on the road and oval side, like me, have a better, more complete understanding of what the car is actually doing and driving it on the limit. And it's made a lot of difference. I think at Road America, I had a lot of pace. I had a really unfortunate mess up with the grass and lost a couple of spots there. But I think I could have finished third or fourth in that one. I don't know how I would have done at the Glen, but I turned a ton of laps for Road to Pro, so I probably would have done reasonably okay there. Sonoma, I did pretty well in and just got kind of stuck behind a couple cars. I don't think I had anything for Danson at Sonoma, but from where last year, I think at the Roval, I kind of went head first into the barriers, almost Chase Elliott style, but on the backstretch chicane.
Did you win?
I did to go from that to like consistently challenging for like top fives and top and podiums and stuff. Oh, and Montreal, Montreal, I was terrible too.
I feel like you were pretty in the Winter Series, right? I feel like you were pretty strong.
Not in Montreal. I'm surprised Sam remembers that. That's wild. I did make a.
Sam remembers all. Yeah.
I did make an absolute fool of myself there. But
enlighten us. I mean, you can't just say that and not enlighten us on what happened.
So I qualified like top 5 for Montreal, and I was not very confident on brakes in the stock cars at road courses at that point. So,
same, except today.
So I especially on cold tires, like I would slam on the brakes too hard, and I didn't have like a load cell brake at the time, so it was like the brake just kind of like went down when I hit it too hard, and I would lock up or I would like spin the car out. So I think coming on to the back, like long back stretch before the like chicane or S or whatever, was going into that, and I slammed on the brakes too hard, spun out in front of the entire field. Not the entire field because I was like in 5th or something, but spun out, went all the way to the back, charged all the way into the top 10, and then I think Danson was leading. Danson probably remembers this because I probably gave him a heart attack, but it was on the last lap. He was coming up behind me, and in the same exact place, I lost it again in front of him. As clearly, like the broadcast was probably on him because he was leading the race, and that was terrible. But like again, to go from that to like being consistently like now I look forward to road courses and think I could eventually win at one of them is cool. It's cool to go from that to that.
Can you I think we've brought it up a couple times, and Nick and I were very close to doing it last year, but we suck at road course racing.
Not happening this year.
Okay. What'd you say?
It's not happening for me this year. I'm already telling you that right now.
Bucket list item to do the 24 hours of Daytona. So to win is got to be a pretty incredible feeling, no matter whatever your role is on the team. Obviously, you ran laps and you won the race. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Personally, I want to know because I want to do it at some point.
Yeah,
curious.
It was super cool. Like it was such a cool experience. The fact that we won the race was awesome. Obviously, it was it was second split, so we weren't running with the pros or anything, but. And we were in the less strong like session, but it was still, there were some good guys. I think there was one team there that was like IndyCar guys or like semi IndyCar, like people who would race in IndyCar or something. So that was cool to kind of race against those folks. But yeah, it's a very interesting style of racing, right? Because the entire point is to minimize mistakes, still run a decent pace, but like at that level, you're not trying to, hit your marks every single lap. You're just trying not to give it too much damage and make sure that it makes it to the final stretch. I think I did the early morning shift on Saturday, which was interesting, waking up that early. I woke up at like 5 or something in the morning to do it. I did a couple stints. It was cool. I mean, it was a cool experience. It was cool that it was a truly team thing. Like we really were able, as the laps were winding down and we were in the lead and we had a pretty comfortable lead. Like the excitement was building in the Discord chat and everything, and that was super cool. So I would recommend it. I would also say that you would want to make sure that you are you have to be comfortable in the car, otherwise it's going to be a long 24 hours, because the minute you get damaged, then you're just like slow and you're limping around and it feels really crappy. I think I would imagine. I didn't end up doing it. I came close to wrecking once, but I feel like it would be really crappy to, on hour 22, like go head first into the wall, like that's just and that kind of fear is what really kept me practicing.
Yeah.
You drive the car a little bit differently with that mentality, knowing it's a 24-hour race. I gotta imagine you're not running qualifying laps each time.
If I was actually good at it at the time, probably shouldn't have made that big of a difference. But yes, I think for the level that I was definitely like, I wasn't sending it into the bus stop, for example. Like I was trying to make sure that I didn't at any point put a tire into the wrong spot or give it, floor damage was a big thing too. So like go over a bump that I wasn't supposed to go over. Like it was very much about risk minimization. And when you're running like an IMSA race like that, like a multi-class race, managing the traffic and deciding when to take risks and when to not take risks is a huge part of that too. And I tend to be a very risk averse kind of person. So yeah, it does change it. It shouldn't, I think at the top level, it doesn't really change the mindset too much, because you can't really surrender that much pace if you're running against people who are really good. But, at the level that we were racing at, yeah, for me, it was, and if you looked at the splits, like we had one guy who was absolutely insane on our team, not Mr. Lockwood, a different guy, because Brian was not on our team at the time, but he was really good. But the rest of us, we gave time on our, like we were slower than the other teams on our stints, but we kind of we didn't wreck. We were able to kind of keep it in one piece so that the guy who was really fast could do his job. And that's when that's your role, like you definitely approach it a little differently.
How many hours did you put in?
Yeah.
Out of the 24?
I don't think I could put a number on it. It's probably, I mean, again, I was still in semi-lockdown at the time. This was in January. So like probably a lot.
I mean, like in the 24-hour race.
How many hours did I put in?
Yeah.
Did we do 2 or 3-hour stints? So I did 2 stints. So probably 6 to 8, somewhere in there, 6 or 8 hours. We had 4 people on our team, so it probably was around 6. But like I said, I was really good at saving fuel. Like I was really good at clutching and saving fuel. So I would always get an extra lap or 2 compared to like my teammates on their runs. So my stints ended up being a little longer than theirs.
Are you clutching the whole run then, trying to save fuel?
No, I kind of, when I was like, so when we were in the fastest like class, we were in the LMP2, which is, there are different classes, there are slower cars on the track. Yeah. So whenever I kind of came up on one of those cars in a position where I was like, I'm not going to complete the pass here and I'm going to be kind of hanging around behind, and that's when I would clutch like pretty aggressively going into the corners. And I had like a fuel tracker going. So if I was close to making it an additional lap, I would, clutch or do something to try and get that extra lap out of it.
Very interesting. I think the last couple RSR races have made me think, especially Michigan, making me think that I need to get better at fuel saving. So just that idea.
Yeah, it's different on an oval for sure. Like clutching is good. And I was turning like, again, sorry, Nick, for turning my car off and you running into the back of me. there's like a different way to do, especially at short tracks. Actually, clutching sometimes is not the most efficient way to like safe. It's weird. Like there's definitely an art to it, and some people are better at it than others. Clearly, Adam and Sam were both really good at balancing the pace that they needed to have with the fuel saving that they did. Because we all, like Andrew, Daniel, me, Bowie, the other keeping it real guys, like we were all saving too much and going too slowly, like clearly. So, you know, it's an art.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to ask kind of what other graphics do we have? What did you want? What do you have for us?
I guess the only other thing that I want to touch on with you, Agnel, is I know before we had spoken about that you've done some radio, which obviously intrigues us. We have a television network here. If we want to call it a television network. What's that next?
Well, you're going to try and recruit him now.
Start recruiting. So I'm curious about that. I mean, I had learned that Grant does some radio hosting, which I thought was really cool. And just learning a little bit about the other side outside of sim racing, what people are doing. And I think the radio stuff sound like a pretty cool experience.
Yeah. So I'm a journalist. I specialize in data and data analysis, and I work for a nonprofit investigative focused publication called ProPublica. So I went to school for journalism at Arizona State, and that's where I did some kind of radio stuff. I've hosted a couple shows. I've done, you know, podcast episodes, and I've been on like radio shows for stories that I've done to talk about the stories. And yeah, so I've done kind of that kind of thing. I haven't done too much of like the editing side of things, really. Yeah. My girlfriend, who I mentioned earlier, she's also a journalist. She does podcasts and she does that kind of, you know, audio stuff. So she's actually, if you actually wanted to talk to somebody, she'd be the one to talk to. She's very good at that.
He's like, we'll do that. So
I'll hire her on.
yeah, exactly.
Is that how you guys met then, with a similar background there?
Yeah, we met at school. So we both went to ASU.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's her number, Sam? You got some balls. It hasn't even seen her. He's trying to get a number. So I guess with that, we could probably, unless you had anything else, we could probably start looking towards Bristol. There's a lot to talk about with Bristol, but I think we'll start with getting ready. Thanks to Brandon Bowie and his segment, the 5 with Bowie. So we'll go and play that video, and we'll be back in a little bit.
What is up, guys? My name is Brandon, bringing you another Bowie's Top 5. This week we are at Bristol. I got my driver, Brandon 6, in the car again, so he is going to get going and show you guys how to get around here. We all know that Bristol is a great track. Not maybe for everybody, but it's a fun track, short track, high horsepower, low downforce, and it's real slick. But I'll be quiet so you guys can hear how he gets around. So as you can see, he's running pretty solidly down the bottom. Now, keep in mind, you can run the middle. You can run the high line. From the recent build, I believe I'm being told that there's a lot more grip on the bottom. So it's great for somebody who doesn't want to run the high side. Maybe they're a little afraid of the wall. So this just gives more options, which makes it better for racing. So, like I said, the top 5 things to watch out for. So the first one definitely going to be wheel spin. That's going to be on the restarts, and that's definitely something that you need to watch out for because going into one, it's going to be flicked. And once you get sideways in the middle of the corner, you might as well just wreck the whole field at that point. But, the second thing that you need to watch out for is as the run goes on, tires start to wear. You're going to have to worry about the slide jobs. You're going to have people that are probably a little bit faster. They get great runs coming out the corner. There's going to be a lot of slide jobs. So you're going to need to really pay attention to that, who's around you, how much to check up for, so that way you don't get put into the wall or get ran over. So you want to keep an eye on that. Third one's going to be don't overdrive turn 1 and turn 3. As the run goes on, again, the tires will start to kind of give away, and it's going to be very easy to start overdriving, start heating up that right front. Once you start heating up that right front, it's going to be very difficult to cool it down since you're running at such high speed, and you're not on the straightaways for very long, so you want to definitely keep that in mind. Watch the tire spin coming out of turn 2 and turn 4. Same thing, as the tires get hot and they get nice and slick, the track starts to build rubber, it's going to become a little hectic trying to get off the corner and trying to put the power down. So you want to manage your throttle for coming off those corners, and also just to save the tires. If we get another green long run like we did here at Richmond, it's going to be important to save those tires. So with that being said, we are on to number 5, which is going to be pit entry. Now, pit entry at 6 is going to bring it in on this lap. Pit entry is a little different than normal. You're going to actually enter pit road coming into turn 2 on the bottom. So it's going to be really important to maximize your pit road here. You need to get everything you can out of it. And then from here, it's long for no apparent reason. It's just a long pit lane for both sides. So, like I said, make sure you maximize. Stay close to the inside wall and make sure that you can kind of get as much time that you can on your competition. But other than that, that's a couple laps around Bristol. Bristol is pretty self-explanatory about how to get around. You got multiple grooves. You can run bottom, middle, or high. And at the end of the day, just make sure you're there at the end so you can go for the win. That's going to be it. And we'll catch you guys next week. See you.
That's great. I think we need to start having Brandon show, where we're going to put like the slow cars. Like, what's the best line for us to run to be out of people's way when we're getting lapped? Because I feel like it's going to be a little what he was saying.
It's going to be the inside. So Nick, we'll spend a lot of our time there. It's going to be frustrating. I think.
Here's what I'll say. Because
go ahead.
We were talking about this before the thing, right? Like, I don't want to be telling people what to do, lap cars and stuff, what to do, right? But like, if I'm a lap car and I'm about to be lapped, especially if I'm not fighting to stay on the lead lap, like there's one thing that I'm trying not to do, which is to mess up somebody's corner exit. So if they're passing you on the inside and you're not trying to put up a fight, the nice thing to do would just be to let them clear up. You can tell a lot when people don't do that.
So it'd be easier to not mess up anyone's exit if you just stay low and you let them pass high.
See, the problem at a place like if the low line is what they want to run, and at Bristol right now it seems to kind of be one of the faster ways around. Yeah. Now that we have multiple grooves, it's fine to some degree, but like it could potentially cost time. And the thing is, when you're coming up to lap somebody, like sometimes you just don't know which way they're gonna go. So like if they're gonna stay, like a lot of people when you come up, they'll just instinctively go high. So you just kind of expect everybody to do that. So it really doesn't matter. I think like everybody said. Everybody says like be predictable and we'll try and find a way around you. But if you're trying to be respectful, as long as it doesn't like screw somebody behind you up too much, like if you make sure not to compromise somebody's exit, that's a great thing. But we really appreciate that.
Well, you know what? I think there's nothing more exciting and nothing gets you more excited about going into the race than talking about how you're going to be able to get out of everybody's way. I gotta tell you, I'm just so excited for it.
I feel like I shouldn't be feeling that way. So Bristol Dirt, I finished 8th, and I know it's not the same track, but this race at Bristol last year, we had a 125 lap green flag run. I finished 11th. I was very close to getting a top 10. So maybe it won't be as bad as I'm thinking, but the competition is just so much crazier and more competitive than last year. Like 11th last year at this point would be like a, I don't know, 17th, 18th place finish this year, probably, if not worse. So, yeah, fingers crossed, Nick, that we're not there, but it feels inevitable at least once, especially if we get some green flag racing.
If I knew I could have plans, I may do them. That's what I'm gonna say. That's what I'll say to that.
Rather than move over the whole time, probably
that
unless we get lots of cautions.
Yeah, that doesn't really sound fun to me. Well, I'll see.
Agnel, do you think there's a chance that we do see a lot of cautions on Monday?
There's always a chance that we see a lot of cautions.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
It's very easy to self-spin at Bristol. In the past with the Cup car, it has been very easy to do that on cold tires. There's usually at least one track blocking wreck. So, you just it really depends. If there's a huge wreck at the beginning, it tends to go green for a while because people get strung out really easily and a lot of people disconnect. But I don't know. It's hard to say. We had this kind of period in this league. Last year, we had green runs everywhere a lot of the time, even at traditionally wrecky places. Beginning this year, we didn't really have that as much. But then at Richmond, we almost went green the whole way. So I don't know. Maybe things are turning back around.
What do you think? If it has turned around, what do you think? What do you think the reason is?
I have honestly no idea. It's the same people racing, so I genuinely have no idea why that is. I mean, I've claimed maybe 3 cautions maybe in my time in our
very low. Yeah,
usually involved wherever the wreck kind of tends to happen. So I don't actually see where most of them happen. So I don't actually know. Who knows? Maybe kind of been some of the people who might have been newer to this earlier have had more experience. I don't know.
I've made the executive decision. The Cubs are not playing on Monday, so I will be there. I don't know if I'll be racing in Vegas, so I will show up for this race, and I will stay out of your way. So thank you for the advice. So.
No, just get your practice laps in, Nick. You'll be
I'm gonna get some practice. I'm gonna get some practice this weekend.
You can run 100 practice laps in like 20 minutes, right? So you can. That's what I like about the short.
I don't know that I'd recommend that because it's tiring.
I know.
Call me out of shape, but like it's actually a pretty tiring place to race.
Yeah,
like, you have to be on it all the time.
But I'm gonna get some. I'm going for Rio on Saturday, so maybe so maybe I'll get some. I'll see some.
Are you driving?
No, I'm flying. Luckily with the free flight situation, I have a friend that kept asking me over and over to go. So I kept saying no, and then I just said yes. Because usually when I go, usually it rains or there's some sort of delay or there's a chance of rain. It's very stressful. But yeah, I'm excited. It's been like 6 years. So I think we're going to do the whole scanner thing.
Cool.
Introduce that for the first time. So it should be really, interesting. So maybe when everybody's bitching on the radio, I'll just be like, this is RSR on Monday night. Yeah, this is exactly what we're going to say. I don't want them to be saying this about me. So I'll just get out of the way. So yeah, it'll be fun. So will Monday. So Monday will be fun too, because we're going to eliminate 4 people. So
that's fun.
I could be one of them. There's a very strong possibility that I'm one of them.
You have the speed that I hope that doesn't happen for you. Because I feel like
I'm kind of torn. Obviously, I want to make it to the next round, but it will make my fall so much more straight. Like I'll open up so many possibilities. I'm not done at this point.
Yes, exactly. If you mean I mean the stress is off. It's like who the hell cares at this point? Like, yeah, I got you. The second I realized that this was not going to be the season net, and I thought it was going to be, open up a whole lot of avenues for less stress. Like we don't have to worry about the road courses anymore. Like just don't do those. Then really just enjoy yourself. So yeah. But we still want you to make it because honestly, not that there's like you probably know this, but there's actually there's a chance you can make the final 4 depending on things.
Yeah.
So you want to have that opportunity.
I think any of the. I think at least half of the people on this could make it in just on pace.
I would agree.
I mean, you look at the guys. Yeah, I mean, you look at the guys who are out right now. Jeremy has kind of struggled as of late, but I mean, he's only a few points out. Red has had speed, but has had non-speed related issues, if that makes sense. Brian's, we talked to him last week. Since his win, he hasn't kind of had the same speed. But Kyle, and I don't know why we didn't do it, but Kyle also had an incident coming in the pit road. So it was not just you, Agnel, on pit road. It was not just me earlier this year. Kyle Trudell also had issues on pit road. I think he self-spun coming in the pit road, if I'm not mistaken.
Come out for that, though.
Yeah, he was like, stop.
Eric Stanford ran into me and totaled my car and his, and a bunch of people behind us checked up, and it didn't bring out the caution. So, self spins or single car accidents aren't going to cause cautions. So, we have to wreck more. So, we need more carnage, right? So. Yeah, that's why I didn't bring out the caution. But Kyle did have some issues, which is why he's, under the cut line right now. But all those guys have shown the speed to gain the points back. Yeah. I think 11, 13, 17 points with the talent ahead is difficult, right? But I mean that cutoff line is very intense right there. I mean, when I was putting together the power rankings, it was extremely difficult to find the 10 best guys because everyone in the playoffs is running pretty strong right now.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, like I think I have the pace to make the top 4. And that would be a success to me, is making the top 4. Mm-hmm. I would not be disappointed if I made it to just the top 8. It would be disappointing to get cut out at this juncture. If I didn't make it to the top 8, I would be probably pretty disappointed with the way the season ended up, but that's also the nature of the kind of playoffs the way that they are. Not that I would have been in that great of a position under the old point system, but still, that's kind of that's the way it goes.
It usually plays out very similarly at the end of the day, but I guess you can always, let's just say the worst happens, you can still finish 5th in the points, right? So there is always that as well. I guess if you don't make it to the Final 4, you're basically just, the elimination truly doesn't really matter at that point if you don't make it to the Final 4. Because then you're just everybody's going to re-rack. But I forgot we had the power rankings. So.
Yeah, I guess we should do that next. Let me get in here. I covered them all up. I was extra careful this time to not give away the top of the leaderboard, which is probably not much of a surprise. So we'll start with who's out.
Oh no,
that was hard. I really didn't want to knock you out, Agnel. Everybody else so you went from basically locking yourself in to being on the bubble now to being concerned. Obviously, if that doesn't happen at Richmond, you had the speed, which is why it's hard to put you here. But 2, you went from basically being locked in to now having to fight for a position here. If we're talking power rankings, it's very momentum based, right? So the guys ahead of you here, in my opinion anyways, had a little bit more momentum.
No argument from here.
Yeah, and I think, even you have like Lariah, not even, bad finishes, right? So he finished 4th last week, and he was 13th at Richmond, 23rd at Daytona, right? But 12 guys are going to make the next round of the playoffs. Only 10 guys get to be in these power rankings. So elusive group to be in here. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Number 10, Sean Casto. Pretty solid average finish, but more so at, Michigan, Daytona. 10th place at Darlington and 18th place at Richmond. So very, very average finishes, but a little more solidly locked in to I shouldn't say locked in, but it has more cushion on the playoffs right now.
Yeah,
and even that was a 4-point drop.
What was that? Oh, I missed it. Sorry, Liam, okay.
Yeah, Liam, I 6th place at Richmond, 12th at Darlington. The bad finishes before that were really, and I shouldn't even say bad, the mid-20s finishes were at the restrictor plate races of Michigan and Daytona, and the win before that. So and Liam's I think third or fourth in the points right now. We looked at it a couple times, I should know, but it is looking as solidly in as anyone right now. So that's why he is in the rankings right now.
Nice.
Yep.
It's looking good for him. Who's that?
Number 8, Daniel Eberhardt. He was 20 points out last week, and now he's literally tied for the last cutoff spot, finished second. I mean, he's always got the speed, and if he doesn't get suspended for Darlington, he's no doubt in the next round. So the fact that he's even tied for a cutoff spot now is pretty impressive. I
think he's going to be okay this week.
Yeah.
It kind of sucks to be on the cut line and have Daniel Eberhardt tied with you, right? So
yes.
That's not the guy that you want tied. So
7, Adam de Blasio. Again, I think he's like 6th in points right now. Very average finishes, 16th, 11th, and 10th the last 3 races. I think results like that are not going to get you to say the final 8, but they will. That consistency will get you through maybe the first round and maybe the second round. But again, he's got like a 15 or 16 point buffer, looking like he's going to make the next round of 12.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Number 6, Mr. Sam Nieto got dumped at the end and still finished 5th. I think Sam ran in the top 5 the entire race, and Sam has consistently had speed back to his almost win at Michigan a few weeks ago. I think Sam is 3rd or 4th in points. So yeah.
Thank God that didn't cost him. Thank God that didn't cost him. I will say that.
Yes, I agree. I was like, Manazzi very, very much apologized in the Discord. I was like, if you were keeping up with the race, don't feel too bad. Like Sam said it cost him 1 position. I thought Sam was in 5th when it happened, 5th or 6th. So, no, he was 4th. Never mind. No, so it did cost him 1 spot, but it could have been a lot worse. Our man Matt Danson in 5th with second, 3rd place finish in 3 weeks. So not a whole ton of surprise there that he's moving his way back up after his 2-race suspension.
And at ovals, no less. So good for him. Yeah, I was gonna say I thought Sam had better tires. I thought he had pitted last. So I'm not. So I thought maybe I don't know if 2nd and 3rd was possible, but yeah, I know he had pitted later, so I remember that. And Nick Silver passed me for like 20th place early. I don't know where he finished, but I know it was in the top 10 somewhere. So
he finished 9th. I mean, that's 4 straight finishes, 4 straight top 10s, 8th, 7th, 5th, and 9th. I mean, it's more consistency than anyone in the league has really shown, other than the couple at the top. The 3rd best average finish over the last 3 races. If you factor in the last 4 races, might be the 2nd best average finish. So he's showing up when it counts. Basically, since he got on the show, he's had a hot streak. So, hopefully, Agnel, that continues for you as well.
He does.
I'm hoping.
We know what the top 3 is.
I feel like I should just rip the Band-Aid. A little bit of a switch here. Brandon dropped a spot. Brandon did not have a very strong run at Richmond. A very surprising, not strong run. I think he had some issues.
He had an issue.
You passed him, Nick, at some point, which was already, like he's going to lose a spot this week. He got passed by Nick Marra.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have an issue during I think something happened before lap 5. And it almost felt like maybe he just kind of backed off and looked to get in line, thinking there could be a caution at some point, and then it never happened. So I think he just had to play some catch up. But
yeah, I mean, at the same time, he finished 14th, which is why he's still 3rd in the power rankings. But he had a streak here of 8 straight finishes of 7th or better, including the 3 wins. And the last 3 races have been, the 2nd at Darlington where he almost won. And I talked to Brandon; he thought he could have won the race. And I agree. But the 35th at Daytona and the 14th at Richmond, right? So when I look at the last 3 races, average finishes, I think it's the lowest Brandon's been all year, with a couple of those issues. Again, Daytona was Daytona, right? So that doesn't really count. But Richmond just struggled a little bit. So, and we saw Seth. I mean, Seth has the top average finish over the last couple races, with the 4th place at Richmond, and then he won at Daytona. He didn't actually even race at Darlington, but he's just been that fast. If he's going to run, he's going to be up there, right? I think we've all seen that. And then number 1, the man who won the last 2 races. I don't think there's much debate there.
No, not at all. Well, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to run next year. I'm curious if he's going to run full time. Because if so, those top 3.
There's a few guys who are like, if they run the full season, they're going to compete. I mean, one of them being Seth, one of them being Cody Harris, right, who I think made a lot of noise when he joined us initially, has been a little more quiet recently, but he's had several top 5 finishes, right? And Zach Carr has shown some speed, right? So there's a few guys who will, and we'll throw out Trey Browning's name because he was on the show a few weeks ago and he joined, I think, like halfway through the season. So some guys who will definitely, that did not run full time this year, if they do run full time next year, I think it's very realistic for them to be competing for chase spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. If the keeping it real guys, if Sean and Nick and Brandon and all make it to the round of 8, they might do really well in that round, and there might be a couple of those guys that make the final 4, because we're kind of doing a lot of I think we have Texas and Kansas in those.
Yeah.
In that round, and the way that the draft model and aero package has been at the 1.5 miles, like having teammates is just a godsend. Like you can really just put up a wall that nobody can pass. Like that happened to me at Michigan with them. So for the rest of the league's sake, I think the rest of us will probably hope that they don't all make it there, because if they do, they have a chance to get a couple of really good finishes out of it, and maybe get a couple of spots in the final 4.
That's why Nick and I were so good at Michigan. We were both running the top 10. We were building a Marra Motorsports wall, keeping everyone out.
Except they literally came up with the line, our name for me falling back.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So maybe like kind of the opposite of that, but yeah, it's a little rough. Cool. Well, what else do we have, Matt? I feel like.
So I guess we have a couple wrap-up items. I guess first, we haven't done it yet. We should have already. We got to thank Boosted for sponsoring the show, which has been awesome. So we got a quick ad from them, and then we'll come back. Starting again. Yeah, I'm a little off on the timing there. Apologies. So, so what I will say is, thanks again to Tom over helping us set up our store at Boosted. So check it out, aftertheturns.club, if you want to buy some After the Turns gear. It's super affordable. Nick and I got our stuff super quick, so expect fast shipping. Again, everything's at aftertheturns.club. A little bit of the proceeds there come to us. So in a way, you're supporting us. So appreciate it. If you do buy anything, at the end of the day, it'd be cool if we saw some After the Turn stuff out there. So check it out. If you're interested in starting your own store, you got a team or just you as a driver wants to sell some of your own personal gear, you reach out to Tom Morano and he can get you set up with your own store for absolutely $0. So reach out to him. He's super helpful. And thanks again, Tom, for supporting us. I guess with that, a couple other items that we haven't talked about. I know everybody's very anxious about tomorrow night, right here on Marra Racing Network, the Truck Series. Agnel, are we going to see you race with us tomorrow night?
No, he's got too much to do.
No.
Yeah, he's got too much to go.
I've got we're a little bit behind on our Bristol sets, so we got a
Well,
little
I
bit of
think
work
he's
to do.
got just a couple
But,
more.
but the truck series at Concord, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have Grant Davis and Brandon Bowie in the booth here on Marra Racing Network. Yeah, we're excited about it. So we'll be live same time as on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Enjoy doing the truck broadcast. What's that?
Is the race going to be at Concord? Has that been confirmed?
It is gonna be at Concord. There is a $20 reward for the winner. So that may or may not increase. I'm not sure, but there's a little bit of a purse to be won. Basically, if you win the race, you pay for almost your entry fee to the Cup Series for next year, if it's still around $30, $35. So come join us, have some fun. I know I'm looking forward to continuing my run for a Truck Series championship. So nonetheless, come out and watch me run dead ass last. So so we'll have some fun. I'm looking forward to that. Again, 9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Hopefully you guys all come out and race with us, because I think we had a lot of fun at Daytona. I guess one other thing that I guess it's not really breaking news, but I happened to stumble upon, so I'll quote unquote break it, is
iRacing related?
Is it what?
Is iRacing related?
It's RSR related. So I happened to stumble on the Winter Series. So I don't know that anyone's thinking Winter Series yet, but the schedule is partially out there. The 2021-2022 season is published on SimRacer Hub. Not really necessarily any surprises, but it looks like season's tentatively started November 22nd and going through January 24th, starting at Daytona and ending at Las Vegas again, just like last year. So at least those are the fillers in there right now. I'm sure Evan will be adding to the schedule, maybe wanting us to not be peaking on this and giving things away, but that's what I'm seeing right now on the schedule, unless Evan changes some things. So again, not a lot of changes from last year, but it's out there.
It's not a lot of changes. How many road courses, aka races, will I not be doing?
So not all of it's out there, right? So the only two races that are in the schedule are Daytona as the first race on November 22nd and Las Vegas as the finale on January 24th. The rest are TBD.
Okay.
But looks like 10 race season, again, just like last year. Looks every week, once a week for 10 weeks. So on Monday nights. Something else to look forward to for those of us already out of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. Yeah. All right. Well, any more ads? Any more?
No, I think we're all ready to wrap up. I think if we want to hand it over to Agnel, who do you want to thank for tonight?
Well, thanks to both of you, obviously for having me on. This has been really fun. Even though Danson apparently couldn't fit us into his schedule, but
he was in the chat at some point.
He was in the chat.
He was afraid of you and your greatness, and also he hates us now. So
he did thank us in his post race interview. So it's ironic he stepped away and he thanked after the turns in his post race interview. Yeah.
Oh my God! Okay, all right.
Yeah. He said he was taking a sabbatical, but thanks to us, he told everyone to come check us out. So appreciate that. That was nice. We do hope to have Danson back as soon as he's ready. I think we all enjoy having him on the show. If you want, reach out to him, give him some love, because we want him back.
Oh
yeah,
God.
He seems like an all right dude. Anyway. So thanks to both of you. This is actually a really cool thing that you guys do, and it's kind of cool to just come on and talk about whatever and kind of recap the races and stuff. So that's cool. Thanks to Evan for putting the league on. He's a really good league admin. Been in a couple leagues now in my long iRacing career.
1 year career.
And he's really good. I'm glad that he's kind of the guy who holds the reins on everything. Thanks to the team at A51, hoping to close the Road to Pros season out strong and build on it for next year. I think we're going to take a good step forward next year. Don't have any sponsors. I don't even know that I would be allowed to with my work to have sponsors. So not really anybody else to thank. But yeah.
We don't think about those things. I got some questions about like, do you make Marra Motorsports a legal entity? Do you have contracts you sign with the sponsors? I think we talked a little bit last week about the paint schemes getting approved by like marketing and legal from whoever our sponsors are. We just kind of do it and hope we don't get slapped on the wrists. So
to be fair, that's also me. I actually don't know there's probably some process for appearing on stuff like this at my work. I have a feeling there's not a lot of crossover between the audiences, so I think we'll be all right.
You say that will be somehow the case, but yeah,
I don't know. After the
one person
blow up, I just got a feeling.
That's all right. That's all right. I didn't say anything that'll get me in trouble. No,
maybe you did.
But yeah,
the brief part where you mentioned, maybe where you talked about your work briefly. You just go back and Matt will edit that out of the Twitch.
No, I mean, I know them. People can know where I work. I've it's in my
simple LinkedIn search. Like anyone can find it. I'm sure. Yeah.
I have a very unique name too, so it's not like it's very hard to figure out who I am and lots of things. There's crazy amount of stuff about people online that you can find out. That's all public. So. I think that's pretty much it for my thank yous. So I'll pass it on to whoever's going next.
And just Matt, he thanks for us.
I mean, at this point, everyone knows our sponsors: Gambit Hill Technology, Mercury Energy, and Sim Racing Studio. Boosted and Tom Morano, Evan for running the league, Agnel for you joining us tonight on our 20th episode. Thanks to everyone, all of our viewers who are still here listening to us every week and in the chat and being active. It's the reason we do it every week. So thanks to all of you. To everyone who is watching or part of the league, we don't have anyone scheduled after this week. So we didn't go into the schedule. We're going to do some more ad hoc, reaching out to people and setting up people to come on or come back on. So be on the lookout on Twitter for whoever our next guest is going to be. And we'll see everyone on Tuesday night next week.
Awesome. Well, good luck, Agnel. It's going to be a fun, stressful week. If you think about RSR, try not to think about it. I'm sure it'll all go.
I'll be honest, I won't be thinking about it. I won't be thinking about it until Friday.
Okay, there you go. Well, that's perfect. That's perfect. Well, then don't worry about it until Friday. You'll probably have the speed to be just fine. So just fingers crossed nobody screws up. Nobody makes a mistake. You don't run out of fuel, all that stuff. And you're going to be just fine. I have a good feeling about it. So
we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
And I will stay out of the way all the times that you lap me for sure. So now that I know how to do
it. Exit. Just let me go all the way to the wall.
Yep. All the way to the wall on the exit. That's what I'm going to do. Everybody knows it in advance. So maybe I'll park it after a few laps. If it's going to be as rough as I think it is, I don't know. My arms are probably going to get tired too using the tray table. But good luck. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much. Looking forward to talking next week about the eliminations in round 2. So have a great night.